Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And this is kind of a big bombshell video. So for those of you who are like, oh, it's going to be boring. No, this is not boring. This is The Wrap. This is a Hollywood publication calling out Valnet. Now, for those of you guys who don't know what Valnet is, they basically own like 75% of the pop culture websites on the internet.
I can tell you. ScreenRant, Movie Web, Collider, CBR, The Things. Hold on, there's more. Gaming, GameRant, The Gamer, Extra Life, DualShockers, Hardcore Gamer, Open Critic. Automotive, they own Hot Cars, Top Speed, Car Buzz. Travel, Simple Flying, The Travel, Sports, Give Me Sport, Football Fancast, Football League World, The Sportster, The Richest, Backyard, Android, something Pocket Lint, Mud, How to Geek, etc., etc.
Yeah, several websites. So Valnet, yeah, they own a huge portion of pop culture media, and we'll talk about this because we have a little bit of inside baseball here.
We've been talking about it.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're going to talk about more because now The Wrap is talking about it, and they have one mainstream media outlet call out Valnet like this and call them a sweatshop. They're calling them a sweatshop, and they're calling out the owner specifically as being a sleaze.
Oh.
And they own Comic Book Resources, which is a huge, punching bag now for people, and all these ridiculous headlines. And we did a video on this before where you were like, oh yeah, look, it's basically the same variation of, the same narrative over, 5 or 6 different websites. They just take an article and change up the headline, change up some of the copy, and then they run the same thing. So all of a sudden you think the entire internet's mad about, the rise of Skywalker walking back, the Raylo romance or whatever. And here it's like one ass mad journo at this organization.
And it's not just Valnet. There's other ones too. But Valnet has been at the heart of people's speculation over the demonetization of websites and destruction of the internet, which we've talked about before. But they're one of them. There's another one that owns some different ones too, and they all are lockstep. I've done before flowcharts describing who owns what and how it's literally a handful of places own everything.
Yeah, so let's talk about this because it's one thing to have independent website owners slam them. Like I know Josh Tyler at Giant Freaking Robot was because he apparently I think he sold one of his sites to them years ago. What they did is they were like the Borg. They would go around, you'd get your pop culture site or your niche site to a certain level, and then they would swoop in and want to buy you. And apparently if you did not play ball with them, if you did not sell to them, they would try to destroy your site. They'd run you out of business.
Oh, that's happened to us before, but that was webcomics.
Yeah, it sounds like a certain webcomic group. But yeah, this guy plays hardball. But now they're getting called out by The Wrap. And I think the reason this is happening, this journo on journo violence, is because the internet, the resources are dwindling. A lot of the traffic now has been decimated because of AI. We've talked about that, and it's going to get worse. Google now, they're rolling out a new thing where your entire first page of results are going to be AI generated snippets. So there's no reason to go to these websites.
No, but they need those websites to generate the snippets, but they're going to take all the traffic from the websites and kill them, which makes no sense. It's like a parasite eating the host to death, and then they have no host, so they're just going to die anyway. Yeah,
so that's why I think at the root of this. So let's talk about this. Before you get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. You'll get a woohoo if you do.
Woohoo!
Who likes chocolate? Let me tell you about cocoa flavanols from Black Forest. Flavanols are compounds celebrated for their health benefits. They reduce risk of cardiovascular disease, improve heart health, boost nitric oxide production, and focus. But rather than me trying to explain it to you, I'm going to let world-renowned scientist Harvard's Dr. William Lee explain it.
So, studies have been done to show that the flavonols in cocoa stimulate stem cells to come out of your bone marrow like bees in a beehive in your bloodstream, and they go out and they find wherever it needs to be repaired. If it's in your heart, they'll fix it. If it's in your liver, they'll fix it. If it's in your skin, they'll fix it. And so we can eat foods like high flavanol cocoa in order to be able to actually get the stem cells to work a little bit better. Now, how do we know this actually functions, it works in people? Well, clinical studies have been done with high flavanol cocoa to show that in like men who are in their 60s with heart disease, they could actually eat just have 2 cups of dark chocolate hot cocoa a day for a month.
Yeah.
And they doubled the amount of stem cells in their bloodstream, and their circulation improved measurably. And then what's even more important and impressive is that there was a study called the Cosmos study that was completed recently that showed that eating high flavanol cocoa decreases the risk of cardiovascular death.
Yeah.
Right, over a period
like
of
a statin.
Like a statin, right. Exactly. Except made with by eating the same thing that you use to make chocolate.
That's
so
incredible.
we're not telling people to go out to have chocolate, which is a confection, which has got a lot of sugar and all kinds of other stuff in it.
Yeah.
But it's the stuff underneath it, the core of it.
Flavanols, the healthy stuff found in cocoa beans, are often lost during traditional chocolate processing. This is why Black Forest has created the world's first high flavanol and flavonoid cocoa powder. Not only is it delicious and only has 30 calories, but it can boost your body's natural stem cell production. Stem cells are so powerful that celebrities pay $50K for umbilical cords and placenta stem cell injections. Yeah, let's stick with the cocoa powder, okay? Instead of that, wow. Now one can increase our body's stem cell production, boost nitric oxide, generate the brain, reduce inflammation, and extend your lifespan by drinking delicious cocoa powder. As a guy especially, you know how it is. You need to be strong. You need to be mentally aware. You need to be healthy. You need to take care of yourself because no one else is going to. So go check out Black Forest Supplements High Flavanol Cocoa. Again, here is the supplement. And I've asked my friends at Black Forest to give you guys a special discount. They are doing a relaunch deal at 40% off for the next 48 hours. I highly recommend you guys go ahead and get it as soon as possible because this one's always out of stock. Go to my link in the description or pinned comment below for the next 48 hours and you can get 40% off. That's blackforestsupplements.com/clownfish. blackforestsupplements.com/clownfish. Let's get feeling better, guys. Let's get back into the video. Thank you very much again to our sponsor, Black Forest Supplements. Go out to Substack, clownfishtv.substack.com, sign up for notifications, get notified. I am slowly trying to repopulate all the videos that we couldn't get up because we had a power outage for a couple days, but I'm getting there, guys. Thank you very much. Yeah, let's talk about this. Now, this is going to be kind of a fresh reaction. I looked at it a little bit this morning.
I haven't seen it at all. So
yeah, so we're going to look at this, but to have the Wrap call out 2/3 of pop culture sites, and it's apparently this guy was into porn. He was an online porn pioneer, and he built a digital media.
Let's be honest.
It does. But he built a sweatshop, and we've talked about this before. Like Comic Book Resources got rid of their editor-in-chief a couple of years ago because they basically wanted their editors to be bot farmers. And they get a lot of, and you look at a lot of these websites now, I've noticed they have a lot of like really low quality stuff. And I think it's being written by people that, you know, English is a second language for them because some of it just does not make a lot of sense. Like, especially like Fandom Wire, like these articles are barely English.
Yeah.
But they're only paying a couple bucks an article, like not even $10 or $20. They're paying like, I heard CBR was paying like $3 an article or some ridiculous amount of money, and they were cutting. Yeah. So it's all about the profit. So this is, again, come from the Wrap. Valnet Blues, how online porn pioneer Hassan Youssef built a digital media sweatshop. The owner of consumer-facing entertainment website ScreenRant, Collider at CBR and MovieWeb faces a lawsuit over exploitation.
So there's a lawsuit.
Yeah.
So basically, okay, so this is interesting. This is something that people like, you know, we've been talking about where we've known that one of the key, I think, people causing some of the problems in the blog ecosphere, or what are you going to call it, was Valnet. We've done that for a bit. But you know, people are like, oh, we're going to say anything. So now that there's a lawsuit, they can say something.
Yeah. And I have to wonder, I'll have to touch base with them if Joshua Tyler is going to be brought, because he actually has firsthand knowledge of this, and they threatened to sue him to shut him up. But they said, yeah, this is a classic rags to riches story. This guy was born in Quebec.
Yeah, Valnet's based in Canada.
They're based in Canada, and he got his big bust. He busted his first nut in porn, and now he's in entertainment news. So now they're in Montreal. They own ScreenRant, Collider, MovieWeb, and CBR, which, according to the company, collectively drives, like you said, 260 million page views every month. Yeah, well, it's
easy to get 260 million page views. No one else can get views on their blog when you can't find them. You can find Valnet sites.
There was speculation. Now, I don't know if it can be proven or whatever, but there was speculation that Valnet had some kind of a sweetheart deal with Google, that their sites always got to the top of the Google News search results. Like when you look for any kind of pop culture news, 95% of the time it's going to be a Valnet site. But when you own 95% of the pop culture sites,
they don't own that much of the pop culture sites, but they
75. The ones that are relevant.
They own the big a lot. Well, there's still a bunch, but they own a lot of the bigger ones. It is a rumor, but it would explain some things. But again, it's just a rumor.
They said in the past decade, Valnet, they have it Valnet. Valnet has, at least you know a human's writing this, Valnet has scooped up most of the independently owned fan-facing news sites and is constantly seeking to acquire more, regularly sending pitch emails to independent content owners to buy them out and add traffic to its online juggernaut. Valnet has one clear goal: become the greatest content and digital investment company the world's ever seen. They boasted in a press release announcing the acquisition of How to Geek in 2023. The company does not disclose revenue. Lately, Valnet has been seeking credibility in Hollywood, such as with a March 11th screening Q&A red carpet event. Let's see here. Yeah, they have Collider, ScreenRant. So, okay, this could actually be the wrap in like other Hollywood publications being like, oh, hell no, you're not going to take our cookie.
Right, it could be. But they've been taking everybody else's cookies, so, you're next.
Yeah. They said there's a wrinkle in this story of a bootstrapping entrepreneur. When Valnet takes over a fan site, the playbook is well established. Employees are replaced by contractors, compensation plummets, and writers who complain land on a blacklist that blocks them from working for any Valnet site.
Oh, this sounds so familiar. I've seen this playbook before. And it wasn't with this. We joked about with webcomics. Some idiot tried this crap with us in webcomics. They did everything they could to tank us, and it didn't work because we were able to stop them at every turn. But this whole I'm seeing a pattern here that I've seen before, and it's usually I'm going to be a big shot dipshit.
Yeah,
is what I'm seeing.
Oh yeah, and there was one fair at the time, like they're a nothing now, but there was one at the time relatively big webcomics portal that this was their playbook too. Like you either joined their network. And I'm not talking about KeenSpot because we were on KeenSpot. We never had problems with KeenSpot. They were fine. So
it's a hive mind collective. Let's put it that way. It's a hive mind.
Yeah. When your collective is bee themed, right? Run, because it's like there's only one queen bee, right? And
well, I don't know if it's that way now. It might not be now. We're talking at the time. It might be
at the time, like 10 years ago.
At the time.
Yeah. And if you didn't join them, they would go out of their way. They would actually
It was
run
one person.
They would run their sites against your site. They would advertise. They would basically go to every link they could go to shut traffic off your site.
Wikipedia.
They got us removed from Wikipedia because they didn't like the fact that there were backlinks from Wikipedia that would help boost our rankings. Yeah, it was insane. But
we got perma put back on, so it was all good. Anyway, we've seen this playbook before with varying results. Unfortunately, it usually works because they're going to blacklist you. You're going to do what we want. If you speak out against us after your site we bought, we're going to threaten to sue you. So there's something else I know. Anyway, we're going to talk about that one. They said they spoke to 15 current and former contributors to say Valnet routinely exploits and discards writers while prioritizing mass quantity over quality to churn out mind-numbing SEO bait. Yeah, but so does like a lot of places. So does the BuzzFeed and stuff. But
everybody does. But that's
crap. But it is what it is.
That's the thing about the AI though, is with the AI snippets, a lot of that is going to get weeded out. Because what they do is they basically, and we talked about this before, especially like Star Wars sites or whatever, even if it's a hot take that they don't necessarily agree with, they'll do like 5 or 10 variations of the same story across all their different sites. And then they link to each other to pull their ranking up.
Right, is what they do. Yeah, they try to think they're so clever. They said everyone is underpaid, overworked, and really pretty extremely exploited. Former Collider contributor told The Wrap. Here's the thing, though. I hate to say it, though. A lot of these collectives and sites, even the bigger sites, aren't paying their people anymore. A lot of them are freelance.
They can't.
Because they can't. And now that the websites, because of places like the alleged deal that they rumored to have, things like that, and their AI snippets and all that crap, independent sites are basically folding because they can't get traffic, they can't get ad revenue, all that stuff, because Google's doing what it can do too to make sure everybody gives them all the money. So everything's working against them, and a lot of places are having to pay people less, are having to ask them to work more. and use SEO bait because they have to stay in business. That's one of the reasons why, as much as we hated doing it, we actually worked with our people for as long as we could, and then laid them off because we don't want to exploit you. We're not going to do that. So we'd rather you have other opportunities.
And I'll tell you, we kept people on as long as we could, and we made sure everybody was paid up when they left. We even gave holiday bonuses out, I think, at the end of the year.
We let them go months before.
After
but we
the
always
fact,
gave it
because
to
I felt so bad about it. Like, you work for Valnet, you get peanuts.
Right. We won't do that because a lot of websites are doing that now, where they're paying you less and less, and then wanting SEO bait, and they're sweatshops. We wouldn't do that.
Yeah. So that's the problem. That's why we don't get ahead, Geeky. That's why we don't get ahead.
We're too nice. I know. Contrary to what some idiots say, we're actually pretty relatively nice. But go ahead.
Everyone's underpaid, overworked, and really extremely exploited.
I just read that,
yes, a collider. They're a company without a clear objective or morals who present themselves as a safe haven for young and experienced writers, but they end up paying bargain basement rates and forcing contractors to create junky clickbait, a former Valnet contributor told The Wrap. An anonymous contributor. They said now one of those freelancers has filed a lawsuit claiming oppressive work conditions and is seeking to establish a class action lawsuit against Valnet. This is Daniel Quintolano, seeks $40,000 for violations, including failing to pay minimum wage, overtime. Okay, that's the thing, though. If you're a contractor,
right?
It's there, but they're in Canada, and this guy, if he's in, because I know California, if you do so much freelancing that you have to offer them a full-time job, which is why everybody's like, oh yeah, we'll just job it out to India.
Yeah,
because they don't want to pay.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that in Canada, but here, if you're a freelancer, you don't have to be paid minimum wage. You don't have to offer overtime or provide meal or rest breaks or business expenses. Now, we often did give people back money for stuff, but you didn't have to.
We're mom and pop.
But Canada's different. Yeah.
We are a literal mom and pop shop, but they're this big, and I guarantee you this guy's making millions and millions of dollars hand over fist. He's probably got ridiculous house, ridiculous cars.
They have, as he likes to brag, they get so many views a month, and it's like, everybody else is falling off. Isn't it interesting that you're still found? I'm just saying, it's very interesting that your articles still pop up in the Google News feed at the top. Well, even if they're clickbait and obviously not the highest, it should be the highest ranking.
Yeah, I think that right now I'm guessing they probably have, and I'd have to look into it, but they probably have some kind of an AI deal or something with Google and ChatGPT or whatever to be like, yeah, you can, not only are we going to, pay these writers next to nothing, but we're going to let you take their stuff to train your AI. Did
you see the next part?
Yes, I did.
The sum is unimpressive, but the prospect of extending this across a class of contractors has Valnet spooked. The company is now seeking signed releases from its contractors to not engage in any class action lawsuit against the company in exchange for $100. But now it's $200, guys.
Wow.
So that's a whole month's worth of work.
Yeah, it's so that's the thing. Why are there, and this is the theory of everything. We've talked about this in comics. We've talked about this in journalism. Why are there so many left-wing activists in this space? Because they're the only ones that'll work for this amount of money. That's the truth.
Insane. This whole thing is just insane.
And then they expect they know that the money's not there. Then they get mad when they're like, well, how come I don't, I want to unionize and I want benefits and I want whatever. I'm like, bitch, you're lucky you get paid more than $3 an article.
This is why when they do get a seat at a bigger publication, they're demanding the moon.
Yes.
That's stupid. When you have a publication that's actually treating you fairly, I mean, I get there's some things there that you might have reason to have changes to, but you want to make sure you do it with finesse because at least there you get paid, and at least there you have somewhat of benefits and things like that. If you work for these other sites, you might be in the situation here where they're offering to pay you $100, $200 to agree not to sue them.
So yeah, they said that there's a blacklist. They said Valnet, they could get sued just for that. Valnet may find it has few allies in the writing pool because another operating tactic of the company is blacklisting those who are perceived as difficult. They have a spreadsheet of more than 400 blacklisted freelancers. When questioned about this, Valnet declined to comment in an internal email accidentally forwarded to the Wrap. Bullshit.
Yeah.
A Valnet executive said to another, "Our documents are being leaked. The list is a remarkable catalog of criticism or perceived misconduct tracked meticulously. Applied to ScreenRant went to Twitter with the rates." One entry says another freelancer was blacklisted for creating drama by discouraging a past writer from returning, while others faced a Valnet ban for calling rates abysmal or requesting transparency. One freelancer who suggested Valnet include payment information in the job listing was permanently banned. The Wrap has blacked out the writers' names.
Oh, so they have
Oh yeah, so here it is.
Here
Yeah.
they actually have the blacklist.
Wow.
A spokesman for Valnet was unavailable to comment because they were on vacation.
They were on vacation. Yeah, they get vacations, right? The staff get vacations. An M&A executive reached out to the Wrap saying the company would not be subject to coercion in response. Oh my God. Would not be subject to coercion in response.
So they allegedly are using coercion, but they're not going to be coerced.
According to Joshua Tyler from Giant Freaking Robot, he was coerced to shut the hell up about Valnet. They were going to sue him. And they were basically monitoring him. And I believe he did.
Here's the thing, though. If you're not saying anything that isn't true, that's
just it. It's not defamatory if it's true, and it's provably true. What was defamation is if you say something that is provably untrue with the intention of smearing somebody's reputation. But the thing is that the fact that Valnet went after him, but he does have, as I believe he sold one or multiple sites to Valnet before. He does know how the playbook works, and he's seen it, and he's like, yeah, you can't.
People who work there, and probably tell him stuff.
Wow. Valnet invests tens of millions of dollars in content annually. We support journalism and would gladly welcome your questions. What? He did not respond to further emails or phone calls. Valnet doesn't care about exclusivity or quality, said an insider familiar with digital publishing. They're talking about web traffic. That's all they care about. They chase keywords in the same way that day traders chase stocks.
Yes.
It's quick gains over actual content. Their strategy treats digital content like a commodity. This is exactly it. They flood the market with stories optimized for clicks rather than insight or originality, which is why you see the same damn thing or some variation of it across like 10 different websites.
Well, I see it too on several Disney places. There's a couple Disney places. That's what they do all the time. And here it turns out the same. I kept seeing it repeated in 2 or 3 different sites. Well, here it's the same place owns all 3. And it's just clickbait, lie. They might have a kernel of truth at the heart of it, but they just like lie to get you to click on it. And then but at the end of the article they say, but the reality is this. And it's like, well, you lied,
Holy shit. Okay, so this is a rabbit hole and a half. No pun intended. So this guy got into a porn business, right?
Holes, yeah.
He built it with his brother Sam, but ended with a $6 million seizure of their funds by the Secret Service for alleged money laundering in 2009.
Oh, okay. Well, that's very fascinating, isn't it?
Whoa. So this guy is just like, yeah.
Trust me, bro.
Yeah. Trust me, bro. The origins of Valnet can be traced back to the foosball circuit. Competitive foosball? That's a thing?
Apparently.
What the hell? It's got to be Canadian. Like, nobody does competitive foosball.
All I keep thinking of is the water boy, foosball.
And they had an investigative report titled The Geek Kings of Smut. They started with $5,000. They grew the company. Everything happened gradually. We had a little money. We reinvested it.
That's pretty impressive. I'll give them that. But then apparently they got in trouble for money laundering. So
the company went from 80 employees in 2007 to 250 by 2009. What happens with a lot of these companies, though, is they grow too fast. And I think they're looking at, I think Valnet is going to get hit by the meteor faster than any other news outlet because not only have they turned all these journalists or content creators against them, but they are just SEO clickbait. Like, they're not even doing original content per site. So the company went from 80 employees in 2007 to 250 by 2009. They became a wizard with SEO. And I think they grew too fast. I mean, this is what happens all the time. But it sounds to me like if they've look, I'm going to be honest. People don't change that much. If they got busted before for money laundering, it's very possible there's some shady shit going on right now with Valnet, and this might actually open them up to more investigation, more scrutiny.
Oh shit! Here's what they got. Is this them? Is that them? They got. I don't know if it was them, but this other site I think tied to them got in trouble because they broadcast the rape video of some girl.
A
And
great
they titled
video, yeah.
it. They titled it with teen crying, getting slapped around, teen being destroyed, passed out teen.
Whoa. Okay, this is pretty damning. Like this is.
I mean,
like,
I'm not saying
holy
it's
shit.
them, but it sounds like it's them.
Yeah, it's them. It's Interhub. This is their group. Yeah, they bought the name Pornhub went online through a separate company called Interhub. They were silent partners in this. Yeah. Wow. Tells of the videos. Yeah, passed out.
Oh,
teen.
that's
Oh
awful.
my God. By 2009, before they drew the attention of federal investigators, so this is how. Okay, so this is. So this company that owns all these geek websites started out in porn, and they got pinched for money laundering.
Okay.
And all kinds of seriously, like what the hell are we dealing with here? This is insane.
Yeah, so they said in 2009, the U.S. Secret Service organized fraud task force seized 6.4 million from the bank accounts, and they covered 9 million of wire transfers from Israel. And the Fed said that they've been wired to 2 accounts over a 3-month period from banks in Israel and other countries, and on the financial fraud watch list. Of the 6.4 million that was seized, the government returned 4.15 million, and 2.2 million of the sum was forfeited for settlement in court. And then they used that money apparently to go off and to start doing the social media or
the Valnet stuff. Yeah, they said they took what they had left and they went and they decided to get rid of the porn. So they sold off the porn stuff. And so they started Pornhub. Yeah, so they sold that off and then they got holy shit. I didn't know any of this.
They scrubbed any mentions of the adult entertainment origins from their public personas on the Valnet site. Well, obviously, I mean, you don't be associated with that.
Yeah, I didn't know that they started.
According to the rap. This is all according to the rap, guys.
This is according to the rap, guys, so blame the rap. Yeah, so after selling it in 2010, they took some time off before launching new ventures. Yeah, probably lay low.
So they did Valnet in 2012.
Okay, so this is how they got into the pop culture stuff. They basically rode the wave of the mainstreaming of nerd culture, right?
They rode some things before that too, but that's a whole other story.
The Valnet sites serve a passionate fan of film, television, video games, and comics. They need major scale traffic to make money off of programmatic advertising. Yeah, so they were like, okay, everybody's into Marvel, everybody's into tabletop, everybody's into comic books, everybody's into... And so they went and they bought a bunch of these sites. It said remnants of the movie blog heydays of the late 2000s and 2010s when sites like Ain't It Cool News made a mark. These Valnet-owned websites largely serve as fan-focused aggregators, commentary, and listicle repositories for movies, TV, comic books, and gaming. Many articles are designed to maximize consumer engagement, fervent agreement or disagreement with purposefully inflammatory headlines like Arnold Schwarzenegger's perfect replacement as the Terminator is so obvious, I can't believe it hasn't happened yet.
But to be fair, I mean that's why they have the CBR generator. But to be fair, I mean a lot of blogs and stuff do that. I mean that itself isn't it's crap, but it's not terrible. The problem we're having is that it went from that to now these still get found in the news. Other actual news things aren't being found, and it's like why? And now they're treating the people like crap. And now they're in a lawsuit.
They're in a lawsuit now, but some of these people are getting paid. Like they're like, yeah, Collider before they got sold was paying $250 an article. I'm like, yeah, they probably could afford to. They probably could afford to back then because the ad rates were so much higher. I've heard for comic book resources, I've heard $5 an article.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know.
I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what I've heard. But they said, yeah, there are people going into multiple grievances with them. Yeah, it's not good. The former Collider contributor said, in journalism, there are really bad jobs. And then there's Valnet. It's one of the worst places I've ever worked. And it's probably the worst journalism publication I've ever seen. It's not journalism, though. It's a clickbait farm. Mm-hmm. Started by guys that were into porn, guys that have shady pasts. And they're trying to get into Hollywood. So what I think is going on here, I'm going to tell you, what I think is going on here is the rap is trying to do some damage to them because everybody's fighting over the scraps of the internet, like whatever's left.
Or they're just trying to get the information out there because now that it's been a lawsuit filed, you could say something. Before they could argue that you were just trying to, damage reputation because you're competition. But now there's a lawsuit and now they have like actual sources giving them, quotes and stuff saying this stuff. They can run with it now. But the whole thing is just, I mean, this isn't surprising. This is basically what we've been telling you guys.
Holy shit! I think
already
this
knew
whole
Valnet was bad.
yeah, we
Sorry.
knew they were bad. We've heard from multiple people they're bad, and like again, they were like the Borg. If your niche site gets any traffic whatsoever, they will make an offer and try to buy you out to take you out of play. And but it's all drying up. It's so weird that the gamer, which is supposed to be super woke and super progressive, is working for this company. And do they know all the shit that they've been into? Because isn't that immoral?
Well, yeah, right. I just think what I think is funny is the rap and these Hollywood. They're trying to stop them going to Hollywood because they don't want these scary people in Hollywood. Have you been in Hollywood?
Yeah, right.
They would fit right in. Anyway.
So there we go, guys. We're gonna watch this because we might see, and we predicted before this year that we were gonna see a lot of gaming sites fold. Like Kotaku's getting sued now by the former CEO of Activision Blizzard for defamation. That might take them out, like it took out Deadspin, and we might see Valnet implode. So
I don't know. They have a lot of money to make sure they don't. If the rumor
seized.
of the sweetheart deal
Again.
right? If the rumor of the sweetheart deal is true, though,
yeah.
they're going to be still standing, and everybody else is going to be gone because Google's not going to care about quality. They just care about quantity because they get to keep more money.
Yeah. So there we go. We're gonna wrap it up.
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.